Hello, and welcome to the latest installment in our UXDX series. I hope you're as excited as I am for the talks that we have this evening. But before we jump into those, I want to give a very quick introduction to UXDX and why we host these events. So at UXDX, our motto is that the world is full of bad software. And I don't mean that from like bad teams creating software. What I mean is that the software doesn't fit the needs of customers. And the example I always jump to is banking, because I have one of those new digital first banks, as well as a very old and traditional bank. And they're worlds apart in terms of the experience of the apps, even though kind of technically they both do the same things. And I know which one I reach for and therefore which one I do more business with. So that's the challenge that I see a lot in the world, that there's things that are technically working, but just not great. And therefore companies are losing business. So our mission at UXDX is to help companies build an environment that can't build bad software, because we really believe it's around the processes and not to do with the people or the teams or anything like that. And how we kind of are advocating for that is to shift away from waterfall projects where you lock in a scope up front when you don't even really understand what the customers really need. And then it's all about, are we on time and on budget, versus empowered autonomous product teams where they get to experiment, try something, figure out from customers and adapt based on that. And that's how you build those experiences customers really care about. Now, that's really easy to say and really hard to do. And that's where these talks come in. So no talk is going to be able to cover absolutely every part of product development lifecycle, but we ask companies to come and share how they're adapting and how they're improving their ways of working. But that's enough about me. You're here to actually listen to those talks. And why I have a question mark here, sorry, is that if whichever platform you're watching this on, whether it's YouTube, UXDX, LinkedIn, if you have any questions for our speakers, please do write them in on that platform. And we're going to have some time at the end of each talk to put those questions through to the speakers. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first talk for this evening. And it's going to be on about how to be a designer in a developer tools company. And our speakers today are Hsiao, who's the product design lead at MongoDB, and Yuqian Cao, who's the senior product designer at MongoDB. So I would like to welcome Tan and Yuqian to the stage. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the sessions today. We are going to share our own experiences about how to be a designer in a developer's tool company. So I am Yuqian. and I'm also the staff product designer. About my professional experiences, I have about 10 years of the enterprise design experiences. Previously worked with the PwC, Morgan Stanley, Compass, and now MongoDB. My niche is turning the complex challenges into the seamless user-centric solutions. And in my personal life, I'm the minimalist and also love to be simple and love traveling around the world.
Hi guys, I'm Ten Hsiao. I am the product design lead at Mongo. And my hashtag is I love challenge. And I was an engineer and transitioned to a design. Right now, I'm leading a team at Mongo. I'm very fortunate enough to grow with a company with 57% of revenue with the product. I work with a different industry and then all kinds of different size of company. And I might immigrate from Taiwan to United States. And then last year I lost 45 pounds. And I also ran the New York Marathon. And then my next goal is to join the High Rocks in New York. Back to you, Chen.
So oftentimes when you think of product design or a UX designer, you might think of these like consumer-facing products like Spotify, Notion, or Robinhood as we use them daily. And which at least this is how I tell my mom and dad like what I'm doing as a product designer is easy to understand for them. So you may ask, so what do you do as a product designer at MongoDB? Do you need to know coding as a designer here? Or do you need to design, what do you need to design for a database? MongoDB is a leading NoSQL database company. Although developers can create the database through code, some users still need visual references. So as product designers at the company, we simplify the database creation process through the UI. Compared to the traditional database creation, we help our user manage databases easily with just a few clicks.
So today we will break down our talk into 3 parts. And as a database company, we have a huge amount of data processing every single day. So first we will talk about big data. Then we will talk about like how we transition from serving IC developer to serving more enterprise customer with our platform design driven. Finally, we will cover how we provide AI tool to our developer in this modern AI world. And then we will end with the key takeaway at the end.
Now I'm going to share how we simplify the big data for developers. Compared to the end consumers like you and me, our target audience is slightly different. It's the developers. So they might love Celsius, Certain.com, Game of Thrones, board games, science fictions, and more and more. But if you dive deeply into the developers' world, they are the people who graduated with a computer science degree. They would be happy if they can make things work more quickly. And also they love solving big problems. However, the bugs or being on call could actually keep them up at night. So what we want them to think when they use our product is like, wow, I can just create a database in just a few seconds, or I could take a coffee break because Mongo will just notify me if anything goes wrong, or they will actually prevent me all the errors. So now I'm going to share the details about how we design for developers. Not all the MongoDB designers have engineering degree. However, we do send work as other product designers, researching our target audience and understand their job to be done in their day-to-day work. At MongoDB, we are fortunate to have thousands of engineers to interview and also help us to understand the developers' pain points. So, and also additionally, we work with cross-functional teams internally, including PMs, engineers, marketing, and also customer support to deep dive into the developer's end-to-end lifecycle and also understand how our servers impact the multiple areas. Our database processes millions of files and data every day. This UI displays the cluster's health and performance. So we have continually iterated on this view and also leverage the customer data to identify the high priority metric. The layout shows the hierarchy, like the critical information will appears at the top and with less important metadata below. We also have many services across the platform, but users don't necessarily know how they can best leverage these services. With the use case driven design, we help the developers effectively complete their task. Moreover, the user can actually discover the features that they weren't aware of before. So once the user get into this use case driven flow, they will be guided step by step. We have seen tremendous success with this design, which has increased the feature adoption a lot. This is also another example of how we prioritize the primary versus the secondary data to help the developer track the task. Developers glance through the high-level data at the top and then see if they need to take any action on the detailed data below. When we design an experience, it's important to measure the success with data. These are the two projects we successfully launched and also leveraged with the A/B testing. Both of them had a really great impact on our customers. So a quick recap about the simplified big data for developers. We're designing a way to simplify the database management and effectively visualize the big data. From simplify the decision-making for the developers, analyze, prioritize, and personalize the tasks by understanding the developer's ecosystem. Provide the flexibility and bridge the coding with UI so developers can have a visual references. And lastly, we bridge the services together to make it simple and also eventually driving the feature adoption. MongoDB started as an open source project and evolved into a company. As the company focused on developers' needs, and after these design transitions, we are now loved by millions of developers. With millions of developers and increasing enterprise adoption, we have expanded our services to support more workload and transition into a platform that better meets the enterprise needs. This shift became essential as macroeconomy challenges impact the startups, highlighting the need for a strong focus on the serving enterprise customers who continue to invest at scale.
Now let's talk about the design use case for enterprise platform design. Today, we are discussing the significant shift in our focus from being an IC developer, focus on IC developer complaint to catering to enterprise need. You might wonder, what's the difference between these two approaches? Developer focus on getting the job done, as Yuchen mentioned. Their goal is to build an effective tool to streamline the work and boost the productivity. And initially, we create a single product tailored to a specific use case. Over time, with more product, we realized we could save enterprise a significant time and money, reducing the data migration, onboarding the cost while they still deliver the result. So as we expanded to serve more enterprise, we saw large enterprise have 1,000 of the developer across a different department, each building a unique tool and system. They all love our product. So our focus shift from just meeting the IC need to enable the collaboration across team. Now I'm going to show you more use case to give it a taste of how we solve this challenge. Before we jump into that, there's a crucial business decision that influence the rest of the decision making here. I think that is the difference I want to call out before. The trade-off between the quality versus quantity in the enterprise strategy. We have millions of the user, but not all of them contribute the same value to the company. As a result, we constantly balance our decision making. Sometimes a small group of key customers using a feature can generate multi-billion of dollars in revenue. So use case one, like taking the example for the car manufacturer company, how can they handle the application with different workload globally? Like one database need to support different end consumer markets. Maybe one market is in Japan as much smaller database workload versus United States is their biggest market. So they have a much larger workload. They have to maximize the database performance. So how does one database scale horizontally with specific needs, but optimize the cost? For this large-scale enterprise workload, we focus on making the database management more flexibility. Our goal is to ensure our database configuration works well for both individual contributor and also the large enterprise with an intuitive, easy-to-use design. And at Mongo, we make the configuration process seamlessly. And instead of forcing the developer to read the long documentation before using the CLI, we build the in-product guidance and education in product. This helps them to quickly scale up and scale out as it without reading the long documentation and making the experience smooth and also efficient. Use case 2, like how do we design a critical, how do we solve a design challenge on designing a centralized management system that empower the org to scale over time while enhancing the engineer productivity? For the enterprise engineer, they often face a challenge of managing the repetitive data migration, and frequently they have to navigate between the different projects to track the progress within the different time. Some of the migration, it could take days, weeks, but even larger migration, it could take months, So we design a dashboard to clearly visualize the process across multiple project and database migration to consolidate all in one place in the org level to reducing the need switching context and streamline the workflow by creating a standardized workflow, offering the template that can be applied across different projects. Database access is also another critical requirement for enterprise. To enhance the security and control, we design various role and authentication method for centralized control to allow the enterprise to protect their sensitive data at scale and manage the access through a centralized view. These are like several framework for integrating the various enterprise components. Our North Star, our guiding principle is to always create an intuitive developer-centric interface. We apply this to module design, focus on scalability, a centralized management system for streamlined control, integration flexibility with API for streamlined connectivity, and as I mentioned before, the security and compliance to protect the sensitive data and meet the industrial standard for the company. Again, enterprise focus on reducing the cost, focus on the business scale. A well-designed enterprise system is essential for enhancing the operation efficiency and improving the collaboration and support the enterprise growth.
In the next part, we would like to talk more about how AI shapes the future of design. As we enter the Gen AI age, we have seen the recent news like the Meta just laid off 5% of the employees to focus on AI. And you might be shocked if you have seen this news from the Microsoft leadership. The era of SaaS, as we know, it is coming to an end. I guess the real question for all of us as the designer is like, will AI take over our job? Throughout the history, from Industrial Revolution, the .com, and now AI, technology and the new things come up could have made people uncomfortable. However, when it happens, this new technology help the human focus on improving processes and finding better solutions. These push us to concentrate on what matters the most.
We currently, we don't have a comprehensive answer for you because we are not the expert in the AI. However, we have some example on what we provide our customer to build the AI tools, which might give you some idea what's going to happen and maybe help you to think about what your role could be in the future. We provide our customer with a search tool for modern AI, vector search, to provide a more powerful way to handle complex data type and perform similarity search efficiently. By leveraging this, our customer can enhance their application with advanced search capability. We also provide our customer with AI-powered predictable analytic feature to reduce the manual configuration and enhance the database performance scalability. We also provide our developer to easily automate the process, transition, migration from traditional SQL data to the document database, which document data, we believe is more flexible and easier to work with the AI application. So if you if you see the tool, the service we have at Mongo, here are those tool example. We use AI to help our developer at Mongo nowadays. Like code generation, data migration, developer tool powered by AI. As a designer, we are surrounded by those AI tool, those AI design tool like a Figma design file generation, design assets transition, design tool powered by AI. I don't know whether you notice there's a similarity between these tools, even though they serve different target audience. So hope this can able to give you some idea like how you could bring AI to your product or to better serve your customer. While we pushing those AI product and service in the design, we constantly got this question in mind, like where or when should AI can help versus human judgment, or how to design AI more, come to place, but not adding the process complexity, like how AI can be accurate to give a consistent response from the library or from the limited resource, or how to, how to have a positive ROI with AI constantly reading and writing to a database or training the model. It could be pricey. How can we have a more expected ROI for the business? At the end, we find out like what we do well. We continue to laser focus on the customer pain point, the core problem, and then more streamline the workflow, and then more tangible business impact. If you don't know everything, just focus on like 3 principles, like improving the efficiency and generate the user value or the business value, and increase the user certifications. Through the design challenge we have been through so far, we also notice, there are key difference between the AI versus human designer. AI, won't really give you a prompt or start an idea or helping the user to solve the problem. Human does. We have to be intuitive to identify the customer pain point, the problem to solve. AI lack of ability to set the overarching goal. It rely on human to kind of provide the direction versus, human designer. We could set the specific goal to align with business priority and value. While AI can analyze the data and suggest a solution, it lacks a true empathy and understand of customer experience. And especially on the user journey, human designer can bring more empathy to the design process and align them with connect to the customer on a deeper level and create a solution that truly resonates to them. Last, AI is a great providing insight on how to implement the solution, but does not set the vision or direction for the design. Versus us, like we are responsible for setting the goal, setting a vision, which guide the design process and ensuring it align with a broader company objective. Last but not least, we as a product designer, and we tend to always plan for use case and user story, and we just have to admit, sometimes we cannot predict everything, we cannot plan for everything, even we are well prepared, we have all the skill set, because we are not the fortune teller, or we are not a great fortune teller. We won't be right every single time, even we have all the skill set to predict the future use case. therefore, here are some like small tips like that help us like in the past couple months, and I hope that could be helpful to you guys. Continuously focus on AI and service design to learn how to bring the new technology to the product to help your customer. And you also can check out some books like guiding to making things worth making, product that grows, UX for business, to make sure like what you build have a product impact and business value in return. Also, last, apply 80-20 rule to diversify your skill set in product design, balance the product knowledge, technical understanding, and strategic the time investment for maximize your impact.
I'm going to share our key takeaways from this talk. For simplify the big data for developers, we empower the users by anticipating their next steps, even beyond the product, also enabling the flexibility and also streamlining their workflows. For enterprise-driven design, enterprises love all-in-one solutions that centralize resources and also minimize the data transition time and cost. And lastly, the AI is not our enemy, but a tool to help us to focus on the most important task. We could set a clear path for the solution and leverage the AI to achieve it. And lastly, we cannot predict everything, so we could be flexible as much as we could. Thank you for joining the talk with us today. And please feel free to let us know if you have any questions to us.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Yuchen and Tan. I really enjoyed that talk, and it's kind of interesting to think because people forget that, yeah, developers have to use those products as well, and they need a nice and friendly user experience too. Great. I just have one question to get started, but if anybody has other questions out there, please do post them on whichever platform you're watching this on, and I'll put your questions through to our speakers. But one of the things, and I'll start at the start, when you were talking about kind of streamlining the presentation, you used the example of use case development. But how do you map because your example, I think you had 3 or 4 different use cases. How do you map that to your UI? So because each use case might want a different structure, or as you said, there's prioritized data and there's lower data, but depending on your use case, there's probably different data that's prioritized versus lower. So how do you, with a single UI, accommodate those different use cases?
Yeah, good question. So before we decide what use case we want to design for the user, we actually working with a data analyst to understand the percentage, what is the highest percentage of the highest task that the user need to use in this feature. And also, we also realized that there are actually a lot of the feature around the platform to complete these tasks. So that's why we decided to work on this use case driven design. And also, we are design a high level structure that can ensure the consistency. Even though the user are working on different tasks, they can still feel the consistency when they are working on the task. And then we also have a guidance, walk through the user through the different steps. So even though like no matter user are on which task or in which use case, they can always seamlessly to complete the task in just a few minutes or a few seconds. Yeah.
So sorry, just to summarize, you were saying that you design for the primary use case.
Yeah. So for example, there could be 5, 6 use cases, but we try to identify what's the most important use case for the user by how much they are using right now. For example, we work with the data analysts like to understand, how many users in this product are needing these tasks or this use case. We also dig into to deep dive into understand the user story and then talk to the developers directly to understand what is the most important jobs to be done they need to complete.
If I could I could
Yep.
add on, I think we not only focus on the user requirement. We kind of analyze from the data and then tracking all the numbers for all the user tasks. But also we kind of we work with the product manager to focus on what other feature has the most biggest business value. I think that we're making sure we not only focus on what customer really need, but also to discover the business opportunity on the table.
Brilliant. That actually ties in with my next question about the most important from a user perspective, because you moved on to enterprise. And a big challenge that a lot of designers face and a lot of product and developers is there's the kind of the sales tick the box of we need certain amount of features because we're comparing against some competitors in the market versus what's actually important, because when you're talking to people, maybe that's not actually that important to them. So how do you balance that as a team, those kind of sales-driven features versus customer-driven features?
I will try to take a question, but feel free, Cheng, you can jump in. I think this is a very interesting question, a very good question, Rory. Yes, when we transition to enterprise, that's why I talk about quality versus quantity. It's very different game. And as we move into enterprise, yes, a lot of requirement, big asks from ourselves because it depends on this feature, this project depends on the contract. There's a contract in the deadline and we have to hit. So oftentimes we also in the quarter, we kind of making sure we prioritize the most important thing from those big customer ask. I think that will help with the business. But at the same time, for us, from a designer, from a researcher, we also really go out and interview with a customer. What really bothers you? What push you on hold on this one? What make you drop? I think that is something the more bigger question we want to ask. So while we focus on enterprise, we also don't want to lose the end developer who working on this, because I don't know whether I think every company might deal with a different thing, but when I say we transition to an enterprise, but enterprise has a different role in this company. They have CTO, they have a solution architect, they have developer, they also have backend developer. So they have a different role. They focus on different things while we making sure we can help sales to close the deal. But at the same time, we don't want to lose a developer because they love our company and we want to continue to do so.
So you're marrying the two levels as best you can.
Yes.
Brilliant. Well, that actually brings us to time. So I just want to thank you, Yu-Chen and Tan, for sharing that case study, and I hope everybody out there enjoyed it as much as I did.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Great. Well, we'll move on now to our second talk of this evening, which is around future-proofing participatory research through AI and human insight. So I'd like to welcome our speakers, Anna Couvinhas, who's the lead strategic UX researcher at OutSystems, and also presenting will be Catarina Nunes, who's a UX researcher at OutSystems. So I'd like to welcome Anna and Catarina to the stage. Over to you.
Hi. Hello. So, participatory research, we've talked about it before. So why are we bringing it up again? Because our ways of working, they are changing. AI is transforming everything, including research. Let me take you back for a second. A few years ago, when I did participatory research in African rural communities, everything was manual. And then when I moved to tech, the research became digital. We were still collecting qualitative insights, but the participatory research process was much faster with digital inputs and some automations. And now we are in the generative AI era, and the way we all do research is changing again. The truth is, if we want to keep doing participatory research, we have to do it with AI. Otherwise, we simply won't be able to scale it, sustain it, or even convince stakeholders to invest in it. So today we are going to talk about how to make participatory research future-proof without losing its human dimension. So thank you for joining this session. My name is Ana Couvinhas, and I'm specialized in systems thinking and ethnography.
And my name is Catarina Nunes. Hi, everyone. I specialize in psychology and social cognition. Let me just acknowledge the other author of this talk, Andrea Mesquita, who is a product experience manager. Currently, Ana and I are strategic UX researchers at OutSystems, and OutSystems is an AI-powered low-code software development platform. And we are here to talk about how participatory research can humanize software development in this ever-evolving digital age. So, like we just saw in Anna's introduction, participatory research isn't new. It stems from activism, anthropology, and community-driven research. These are all fields where the goal wasn't just to study people, but to involve people in shaping solutions. So instead of a researcher coming in, gathering information, and leaving, participatory research puts people at the center. People document their own experiences and raise their own concerns, becoming active participants in the research. And what is more interesting is that even though this type of research started in social sciences, the exact same approach works in tech. So whether you're conducting a scientific study on human psychology, designing for farmers in Africa, or for software developers in Silicon Valley, the core idea is the same. It's the people using the product that should be shaping it.
So let's go back to that journey that I mentioned earlier. Manual process, digital AI-powered process, and now generative AI-powered research. When I first started doing this participatory research, everything was handwritten, right? So people would document their daily experience with diaries. And we provided research participants with cameras to capture everyday life. So they captured these unconventional scenarios that outsiders, like people like me, would never, ever be able to witness. Like from witch doctor rituals to household routines and traditional dances to these farming spirits. So the insights were quite rich. They were invaluable. It was amazing. But this manual process was really time consuming. So later, when I moved into tech, I started to apply the same approach, except that then diaries were digital, and instead of photos, our research participants, they captured screenshots. And we used AI-powered tools to accelerate the participatory research. For example, to do automatic transcriptions, as you can see here on the screen. So when comparing these two realities, in the tech industry, this participatory research was faster than the research projects in rural Africa. But fundamentally, it was still about understanding real people and collaborating with them. If you are interested in these real-world examples and in participatory research strategies, both in rural communities and in tech, you can check out these two videos that are called Software Developers Are People Too, using participatory research in the tech industry. But today, we are focusing on what's next. What's next? Now, we are at another turning point. Gen AI is completely transforming the way we work and the way we do research. So, how do we evolve participatory research without losing its core human element? Well, to answer that, first we need to understand why participatory research is so powerful. And to understand that, we need to talk about the psychological side of it. And Catarina is the psychologist here, so.
Okay, psychology to the rescue. And let's first try to understand, why is this a psychology matter? So like we saw, participatory research isn't just about gathering information. It's about the whole experience, or the way people feel when they contribute to shaping a product. In participatory research, knowledge isn't simply transmitted, it's co-created. Participants actively engage in discussions, problem solving, and reflection, making the research process more insightful and impactful. In fact, participatory research shapes both the mindset and actions of participants, driving real benefits for the research and even for the business. So, participatory research, the knowledge isn't simply transmitted, it's co-created between the participants and the researchers. And can you please move to the next slide? This ties to the idea of social constructivism, which tells us that knowledge is built through the collaboration, dialogue, and shared experiences. By having researchers and participants working together, we create deeper insights that wouldn't emerge in other research methods. Another particular aspect of participatory research projects is that taking part in them strengthens the notion of social identity. What does this mean? What is the notion of social identity? So people see themselves through the groups they belong to, and they take on the group's identity as their own. So research participants who belong to a group of, say, developers feel more connected to a research initiative where the subject matter is, for instance, the developer experience. So essentially, these developers do take greater responsibility for the research outcomes. This leads to more thoughtful contributions and a stronger commitment and alignment with the research goals. Participants, So basically, we saw that participants feel ownership over their work, collaborating with researchers and with their peers, and see their knowledge and efforts making a real impact. Participatory research enables all of this. So participants are in control, feeling autonomy, feel connected, experiencing relatedness, and contribute to the solution, experience feelings of competence. These three dimensions, autonomy, relatedness, and competence, are the core drivers of motivation, according to the self-determination theory, a very well-known theory in psychology. And higher motivation levels mean that people perform better and are more creative and more persistent. So enough with the theoretical side, let's look at an example of this in action. So in our research practice in the OutSystems context, we do plenty of user research. Our users actively collaborate and engage in the research initiatives. They feel ownership over the solution they help create and feel even more that they belong to the OutSystems developer community. They also get research participation badges, which brings the recognition among the members of the OutSystems developers community. So then they proactively participate in the community forums and submit their ideas for improvement in the community ideas webpage, which is pretty cool, right? They feel that their opinion matters and makes a difference for the improvement of the tool that they actually use at work every day. So we saw the explanatory theories backing the power of participatory research. Now, what about practical outcomes? In fact, all the psychological and behavioral phenomena we were talking about here do contribute to interesting benefits that make this research type so powerful. For participants, benefits are clear. They experience higher motivation, greater sense of empowerment, improved performance, and overall well-being. They don't just contribute, they feel valued and invested in the process. But the impact extends beyond participants. It's also beneficial for the quality of the research insights. Ideas are tested and refined faster, ensuring that the final product truly meets our users' needs. This has a direct impact on product quality and innovation. And that is a good thing because ultimately this means there may be gains for business. So from a business perspective, participatory research can enhance customer loyalty. And a more engaged customer base leads to better products and stronger business success.
So participatory research is powerful, right? It's indeed awesome, but it's also time-consuming. And in fast-moving industries, that's a big problem. Convincing stakeholders like our managers, leadership teams, and decision makers to invest in participatory research isn't always easy. They care about efficiency and speed. And if something takes too long or seems too resource heavy, it's at risk of being deprioritized. So, and let's be honest, traditionally, participatory research really does require time and effort. And in an industry where deadlines are very tight, it's easy for teams to say, we don't have time for this, right? So, what happens if we can't convince them? The risk is clear. If participatory research gets deprioritized, we lose. We lose the human connection to our users. We start making decisions in isolation, and when that happens, we end up with products and services that don't truly meet user needs. Now, with emerging technologies and tools, we can make participatory research more efficient. And in fact, AI is not here to replace participatory research. It's the only way to make it sustainable in today's fast-paced environment. But, and this is critical, we have to be careful not to dehumanize the process. AI can support participatory research, but it cannot replace humans. That is, real participants. What does that mean in practice? It means that AI should assist with tasks, but it shouldn't generate artificial users or replace real participant insights. AI should help us optimize the research processes, but not at the cost of genuine human experiences. If we use AI blindly, we risk losing everything that makes participatory research so powerful. Here an example on how we can use AI effectively while maintaining the human-centered focus. So here, let's start with planning studies. We can use AI to find trends and important research questions that matter to participants, but let's not let AI decide everything. People really need to shape the study to keep it fair, to keep it relevant. Next, while we are conducting the research, we can use AI to help us to do note-taking and automatic translating so we can focus on real conversations. This is very important that we don't let Gen AI replace real human participants. When we are analyzing data, let's use AI to quickly sort and find patterns in the data, making it easier to understand. But don't let AI decide what the data really means, right? So only people can understand context, empathy, nuance. And finally, when we are doing the reports of the research, let's use AI to create charts and summaries that help explain the findings clearly, but let's not use AI to take over the storytelling, right? Only people can bring this depth, this empathy, and the true meaning of their experiences to the narrative. So, if we use AI wisely, we can keep real users at the center, and at the same time, make participatory research more scalable, more efficient, and most importantly, more convincing to stakeholders. The key takeaway here is AI isn't a threat to participatory research. It's the tool that will allow it to survive. Researchers should use AI as a collaborator, not as a replacement for humans. In a nutshell, just to wrap up, if instead of humans we perform research with AI-generated participants, the research process will be faster, but it's only a quick win. When we collaborate with humans, the real users of our product or services, these people feel motivated, they feel engaged. And when they feel that they contribute to the improvement of a product or a service that is for them, that affects their daily lives. So what happens is that they feel ownership. And because they feel engaged, during these research activities, these participants give detailed and contextualized feedback, which leads to richer research insights. Also, they talk positively about the product and service with other people, which is good for the business, right? The word of mouth. Machines, they feel nothing, of course, right? And we won't have all these psychological and social benefits that result from the collaboration between researchers and research participants. Because in reality, these AI-generated participants, they are just machines, right? They are machines. So, and participatory research methods, they emphasizes even more the feeling of engagement and ownership, because makes participants co-creators rather than just subjects of study. And of course, with these co-creators, the research insights are richer, which leads to research recommendations for the business with a higher confidence level and less risk. And like we mentioned before, it also contributes to having more customer loyalty, which is good for the business. So, participatory research is a win-win situation for both participants and the business. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think you're definitely on the selling participatory research there. Win-win for everybody. No, thank you very much for the case study. It was really interesting going into all of the different aspects. Again, just to repeat, if anybody has any questions, I did miss a question from the last session that came in just at the end. So please do try to get your questions in early before we run out of time. But I'll lead off with the first question. Because when you were saying don't use AI kind of interviewees, there is also the point about what about AI interviewers? Because there are a couple of tools out there now that you can put in, and their pitch is basically, we'll talk to real humans, but you can only scale to how many people you can talk to because you're one person. But we can interview 1,000 people overnight. And it's like, we'll follow whatever script you give us. What are your thoughts on that?
So it's similar, because what happens is all these benefits that come from participatory research, they actually come from this relationship, this exchange, this communication between humans. If we take human from one side of the relationship, all this feeling of belonging, relatedness, we lose it. We lose this word of mouth. We lose this human contact that make people feel that they own, that they are engaged, right? Of course, that we are talking about a type of research that in which we are studying. It's for longitudinal studies, in which we are studying the source of problems, or we are doing generative research, which means that is not quantitative, is more qualitative. We are trying to understand the problems. We are trying to understand how people think, how people feel. This is why we need participatory research. There are other types of research that they need more quantity and less qualitative research methods, and that most likely AI can accelerate more the process. But with qualitative, with these kind of things in which we are really exploring and trying to understand the deep of the humans and their lives, it's important to keep this human connection. Catarina, do you want to add something as a psychologist?
I totally agree with you. And yeah, it's the social nature, the co-constructivism. I mean, if you interview, like you said, Rory, 1,000 people a night, you'll still have plenty of data in the morning, and AI can help you process that data. But that won't be, in cases of this participatory research, of course, this is not the best research method, perhaps for all research problems. That's not what we're advocating. But that huge amount of data will turn into like snippets, and there's going to be missing the interaction, the co-creation of knowledge, that's based on the social constructivism, like we kind of discussed in our thesis here.
Yeah, so it's When you say that kind of knowledge, do you mean that it's literally the aha moments that you're receiving as the interviewer, as people are talking, because that really instills it, versus, you know, the way when if you read a report, it's never as hard hitting as if somebody says it to you and you can see and feel the emotion that they have when they're saying it.
For example, yeah, I agree. Anna?
But it's not only the aha moment. It's not only what we collect while we are doing the research. It's because they are co-creating with us, because they participate really during the research process. There is again this exchange. You know, it's a win-win situation. They feel, we feel, they feel engaged. Word of mouth, better for the business. It's like a snowball.
And just to kind of tie in, because you mentioned one about cost, and that is a big factor for a lot of companies. I'm actually a big fan of having the full development team in a lot of research interviews, because when you're picking something up, you pick up different things depending on your background. So a developer sitting in and listening to an interview would pick up on very different things to a designer, to a researcher,
Definitely.
just given your personal backgrounds. So what's your opinion on that in terms of getting more of the internal team involved versus just a researcher?
In our opinion, is a very good practice. It's something that we also apply at OutSystems every time that we can. Actually, it's often we bring the product managers, we bring developers, we bring architects, we bring people with us in the interviews. And please be aware that interviews and research sessions, participatory research sessions as well. And please be aware that we are talking mainly on while we are performing this research. Like the moment in which we are gathering is important to have the human with us. But then there are the other stages, right? We have the preparing stage, then we have the analysis stage and the reporting stage. Those are stages in which the AI can definitely help us a lot, accelerate the process, doing transcriptions, you helping us analyze and doing reports. And AI can really accelerate it. That's why we need to have AI to make sure that then we accelerate all the parts of the process except the part in which we talk with real humans. That's the key thing here. It's like, let's keep the real humans and use AI for all the rest, of course, until it makes sense, right?
And I know you're against those AI. There's a couple of tools out there that have some AI fake users. Is there any value in it? Like, can it maybe a starting point get you started?
Watch out. We are saying during that research phase in which we need to collect real information from users. But before the research, we have a phase in which we plan the research. While we are planning the research, it can be also handy to have these non-human participants to help us, for example, to test the script or to anticipate potential feedback from the user that we were not anticipating, and then we improve the script. So non-human research participants, they can be useful while planning for us to do dry runs and so forth to improve the script, improve the research plan, but not during the real research gathering information phase. Makes sense what I'm saying? While we are conducting the research.
Yep. No, it's a great point of kind of helping. I love the analogy of fixing the script, because often you'll be in a talk with a real person. You're like, oh, I wish I had asked this, or I should have done something else. And it's too late at that stage.
Yeah, it actually helps us like role playing with a machine without making other people losing time for other people. We role play, we waste the time of the machine. It's okay. And so we are better prepared for real users while we are conducting the research, not before.
And last question is just around the analysis. So is there a risk, or how do you mitigate rather the risk that people get lazy? And that's a lot of text to review and a transcript and trying to pull out my insights, whereas ChatGPT will do that in 10 seconds. So How do you avoid losing nuance and context in your interviews when you're doing that analysis step and utilizing those AI tools?
Okay, from my side is really, and it comes also with experience. You know where you can use AI. It's very, very valuable to help you find the patterns, you know, the initial patterns, to cluster the initial things, maybe even to raise some flags or raise some topics that we were not seeing, or interconnections. But then it's all it, right? It helps you in the beginning, but then you actually need to come in and validate everything and really perceive and assess if it's just losing all these nuances, all this empathy, all this non-verbal communication that is missed with AI. Catarina, do you want to add something?
Yes, I was thinking that this actually connects to the question kind of that you were asking earlier about how AI doing interviews. I prefer to go to all the interviews I can when I am going to analyze the data later on, because I'm already learning while interviewing the users. People here at the team say that, yeah, I'm always in every user interview, because I do feel it really helps you to overcome those challenges that an AI analyst alone would not have the context that you have. So I think that going to talk to the users is the easiest way to prepare for that data analysis moment.
Brilliant. Well, thank you both. I think we're just up at time now, so thank you both for that. Great talk. And it's really interesting. I love hearing how people are using AI and how they're not using AI to kind of accelerate, because as you said, it's a fact of life. It's out there. It's something that people are going to use. So let's use it in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I hope you enjoyed our session today, everybody out there. I want to thank once again all of our amazing speakers for the talks that they shared. If you did enjoy this, we do have an event coming up in Berlin in May, 19th to the 21st of May. And we also have one in New York the week earlier, 12th to the 14th of May. So if you're interested in this kind of content and our mission of helping product teams move from being a project-based to more empowered product teams, where developers and everybody can participate in the research, please do consider joining us at one of those events. And if not, I look forward to seeing you at the next UXDX Online. Thank you very much.